Today, I will be telling you a story about a young boy named Stanley Yelnats on how he got convicted of a crime that he did not do, and he got sent to camp that almost killed him. Before I tell you anything, I'd like you to know where he went. He went to Camp Green Lake, and it was once the largest lake in Texas. That was over 100 years ago. Now it's just dry, flat wasteland. And here we have our main characters: Stanley, Zero, Armpit, X-Ray, Zigzag, Squid, and Magnet. Stanley is walking, and then a pair of shoes hits him. Then he turns around and grabs them. But soon, he hears the police coming. Stanley was then taken to court, which then he was given a choice: jail or 18 months at Camp Green Lake. He chose camp. Stanley claims that the shoes fell from the sky and he didn't know who stole them, but all he said was that it wasn't him. Mr. Pendanski and Stanley now met. They shake hands and they talk for a little bit. Then he gave Stanley some clothes and a water. Stanley was then introduced to his tent member, Zero. They then went to bed for a little bit until the next day, to be woken up at 4 a.m. They then got woken up by the sound of the trumpet. They then go to get their shovels, and X-Ray and Stanley get into a fight, because only X-Ray gets the smallest shovel. Then all of them else get the shovels. X-Ray tells Stanley that the first hole is the hardest hole. One by one, they each finish, and after they're finished, they spit into the hole. Every day, after a few hours, Mr. Stir would come in his bright blue car and fill up their water bottle canteens. They then had lunch, and Stanley was showing X-Ray his hands with many, many blisters on them. Stanley even admitted that the first hole was a lot harder. When Stanley was digging, he found a bullet that he thought was a lipstick tube, and the bullet had the initials KB carved into it. When X-Ray had heard about this, he rushed over and took it from Stanley. Stanley then gave it to X-Ray, and X-Ray said that he should get it because he has been there longer than any other one of them. Also, the reason why X-Ray wanted the bullet was because he wanted to get a day off, because if you found something that the warden might like, you'll get a day off. X-Ray then gave the bullet to Mr. Sir, who then called the warden, and then the warden rushed over to see what it was. The warden then pulled up and took a look at the bullet. She really liked it and gave X-Ray the entire day off. She then asked Mr. Pendanski to fill up everybody's canteens. Even though he already did, he was reluctant, and then they got into a big argument, and she got really angry at him. Stanley's about to get bitten by a lizard, but luckily, Mr. Sir shoots it before the lizard bites Stanley. The warden then put them to work and told them to work in the same place X-Ray had found the bullet. Later that day, Zero was watching Stanley write a letter. Stanley asked, "Hey, why are you looking over my shoulder while I'm writing my letter? Can't you read?" Zero said, "No." Stanley asked, "Hey, have you ever watched Sesame Street?" Zero said, "No." Timmy Wizumi? Nope. Dr. Seuss? Nope. Stanley was amazed, because Zero's already 12 years old and he didn't know how to read or write. So then Zero asked, "Hey Stanley, can you teach me?" Stanley agreed, but on one condition, that Zero would help Stanley dig the holes. The next day, Mr. Sir pulled up in his blue car, and the boys were talking because they were almost done with their holes. Mr. Sir pulled up and he was gonna fill up their canteens. Then one of them decided that it was a good idea to sneak out his sunflower seeds from his car. So they did that, and then they finally passed it to Stanley. But when Mr. Sir was looking, he got caught red-handed. Mr. Sir told Stanley to get into the car because they were going to the warden's office, and that was not good. When they had gotten there, they had made her angry because Mr. Sir brought Stanley there because of a bag of sunflower seeds. And she was so angry that she whacked Mr. Sir just after she had applied her homemade venomous rattlesnake nail polish. When Stanley got back, they had all asked him what had gone down. Stanley told them that Mr. Sir got whacked in the face by the warden. They all started laughing. It used to be all lake and land where they were digging, and there was a happy village with many people. There was once a guy named Sam, and he loved onions. There was also a teacher named Kate, and they would exchange things. He would give her a bag of onions, and she would give him a few jars of peaches, the best in town. There was also this other guy, and he loved Kate, but Kate didn't like him because he was a big self-centered jerk. So then he decided to kill Sam and burn her school on fire. She then went off on a journey, and she became known as Kissing Kate Barlow. She died because she got bit by a lizard. And Stanley's great-grandfather was one of her victims, and he survived. The only reason Stanley's great-grandfather survived was because he found rest on God's thumb, a big mountain. The only reason Stanley had such bad luck was because of his no-good, dirty, rotten, pig-stealing great-great-grandfather. Stanley's great-great-grandfather had fallen in love with a girl. He had no chance with her because her father was going to marry her to a big, fat pig man. What he did was he met a gypsy named Madame Zeroni, who happened to be related to Zero, and she said that she had a wee little pig, and every day he would carry the pig up the mountain and let it drink from the water on the mountain. And he would do that for 2 months. But after those 2 months, he would come back for her, and he would carry her up the mountain so that she, too, may go up the mountain and drink from the water. But what she also said was that if he did not come back for her, that he and his descendants will be cursed for the rest of eternity. He took the offer that the gypsy has made, and he started taking the pig up the mountain every single day for the next 2 months. From then on, he took the pig up the mountain every single day and let it drink from the water so that it may too get strong, just like him. The father had placed a bet that the person with the fattest and heaviest pig would win his daughter, and they both ended up weighing the same. So then, he left it up to the daughter to choose. When he was going up the mountain, he had to sing this song. If only the woodpecker sighs, the bark on the tree was as soft as the skies, while the wolf waits below, hungry and lonely, crying to the moon, if only, if only. The daughter was not that smart, so she had said, I will choose a number. Pick a number, 1 through 10. By that point, Stanley's great-great-grandfather was up to here with it, and he did not like it. So he left and said, keep the pig as a wedding present. By now, Zero was able to spell some simple first grade words like dog and cat. When they saw Zero helping Stanley, they became very suspicious and then questioned them. And then they got into a big fight, and Zero started choking one of them, and they almost passed out. Luckily, Mr. Pendanski was there to split them up after he said that was enough. Mr. Pendanski then started making fun of Zero because he couldn't spell. And then Zero got super angry at Mr. Pendanski. Zero then whacked Mr. Pendanski in the head and ran away. And then before he ran away, he said, "I know how to spell dig. D-I-G. Stanley then chanted, "Run, Zero, run!" A few days later, Stanley stole Mr. Sir's car and then crashed it and then ran away and then found Zero. And then Zero was under a ship, and then he thought it said Mary Lou. Although the ship said Mary Lou, as in the name of the ship Sam the Onion Guy used to own. Zero then gave Stanley some sploosh, as he liked to call it, and Zero's real name was actually Hector. They kept on hiking, and then they found God's thumb, and then they climbed up it, and they finally got to the top. And then Stanley said he felt lucky. So then they went down, dug up a hole, and then they found Stanley's big, big, big chest of gold, money, and everything. Later on that very same day, Mr. Sir, Mr. Pendanski, and the warden found them, and they were amazed that they were still alive. Stanley's lawyer then arrived, and then she saw what had happened to Stanley and Zero. The boys had then stood up, and the lizards came off of them at once, and then they went to the lawyer. She then asked for Stanley to come into the car and go, but before that, he had to say goodbye to all of his friends, and he wouldn't go without Zero. So she ended up taking Zero with her as well.